Ashley Baker set social media on fire when she didn't even put out a question. She put out a statement saying that Kyrie Irving is better than Allen Iverson. And that's the topic that made it even to Sports Illustrated. So now I have to pose the question. And I think I know the answer. Emphasis on the answer. Who is the better player, Kyrie Irving or Allen Iverson? I'm going to start off with Mia.
All right, so first, I feel like this is kind of an unfair question. You have to have a lot of context when you're talking about who's the better ball player. We're talking about two players from two different eras. One being Allen Iverson, coming from a much tougher era than this era of basketball is right now. And just the things he was able to do within that era wasn't easy. Um, when you're talking about who's the better player over one, I think it's also fair to say have this discussion and not down the other player. Like that's always the thing. It's like you come off as if you're down in one over the other, and that's just not the case for me at least. And so it's a lot to consider for me. I don't just look at one particular thing to define a basketball player. If we're talking just skill set, I might have to give that nod to Kyrie Irving. But when we look at everything else that Allen Iverson brought to the game of basketball, I have to roll with him. Um, Stats during the regular season, Allen Iverson wins that battle. Stats in the playoffs, Allen Iverson wins that battle. Longevity, I'll say with minutes played, Allen Iverson wins that battle. And we all know that both of these players have been plagued with injuries. And Kyrie probably does have another 4 years in him. Allen Iverson only played 14. I think Kyrie is on year number 10. And so he pretty much, I think he has some more left in the tank. It's just a matter of where does Kyrie see himself in this league? Is this something he still loves doing and still wants to do? When we talk about Allen Iverson's heart and love for the game of basketball, there was no days off except for that one practice. Allen Iverson laced him up and he went to work whenever he touched the court. And that's just what you got out of him. He had that heart and love for the game that was infectious to his teammates. And so he carried a team to the finals. And I think if he had another superstar with him, they probably would have eventually got a championship ring. And with Kyrie, he had LeBron on his side to help him. And Kyrie's had to move around a few times. AI moved around at the back end of his career, but people were trying to get to Philadelphia to play with Allen Iverson. So what it boils down to me is if I had to draft one of these two players right now, I think y'all know who the answer is.
I think when it comes down to me, when we have these discussions of players of different generations and different eras, it's hard. And I look at Allen Iverson, I probably wouldn't be wearing my hairs in braids right now if it wasn't for Allen Iverson's influence. He had that kind of effect, not only on the NBA, but just the nation in general. Allen Iverson did things on the court we never thought were possible. He revolutionized the game and the world. So when it comes to who is the greater player, it's obviously Allen Iverson. Allen Iverson by far is the greater player, has done more for the game. People will remember Allen Iverson for more. Yes, Kyrie Irving hit a game-winning shot after coming back from a 3-1 lead. That was LeBron's team. So when we look at the careers and what they've done and the things we're going to remember them by, there's definitely more in Allen Iverson's case. But then when we're talking who's the better player, I think there's a discussion to be made because when you look at the things that Allen Iverson did for the game and all these other players like Kobe Bryant, Michael Jordan, that now these guys had this possession of experience from watching film and all these other guys and all the other practices they've had, they're able to bring that into what they do. And I think Kyrie Irving probably is probably the best handles we've ever seen in the NBA, has some of the best finishing we've seen in the NBA when it comes to how he spins that ball on the backboard. He can score with the best of them. I think there's a conversation there, but I think it's worth noting that Kyrie Irving isn't what he is without Allen Iverson. He isn't what he is without Kobe Bryant. He isn't what he is without all these other players. If we were to have Kyrie Irving when he was a toddler and place him in them eras, he's not the Kyrie Irving that we know because he doesn't have those resources. So I think there's a case to be made when it comes to Kyrie Irving being better, so to speak. You know what I mean? When we're comparing skill sets because of what he had. And I have no problem with that. I know it sounds harsh, but we have to understand the context of that situation, understanding that Allen Iverson paved the way for that. And so if I'm taking somebody on my team, I have to take Allen Iverson purely off the fact that, he did it by himself. He didn't have another superstar. Kyrie Irving, in my opinion, had the greatest player of all time. So I got to go Allen Iverson, but I think it's worth the debate.
What about you, Tramel? What do you think? Allen Iverson, Kyrie Irving?
I got to go with Allen Iverson. Now, of course, I agree with Jamar and I agree with Mia. When you're talking about skill set, yeah, that's definitely a debate. And I might lean towards Kyrie when it comes to overall skill. But being able to carry a team by yourself, Allen Iverson, he's proved it. He showed it in that 2001 season. He took the Philadelphia 76ers to the NBA Finals, and they got a game over the Los Angeles Lakers. That was their only loss of the season in the playoffs that year. LA finished 16-1 that year in the playoffs. So he was able to defeat them in one of those games. And just everything that he's accomplished, the All-Star games, the All-NBA teams, he's just a better player when it comes to team basketball. He's able to carry a team further than what Kyrie Irving has done so far. Like you said, Kyrie Irving, he's had help. He's had LeBron James. He's had Kevin Love. And then when those guys weren't there, he had to move around. It didn't work out in Boston. Didn't work out his first year in Brooklyn. And we'll see if it works out now with James Harden and Kevin Durant. But right now, I think Allen Iverson still has it right now. I think Allen Iverson is the better player. He's had the better career so far. And the only reason this is a conversation is because Kyrie Irving did hit that big shot in the NBA Finals that year. Mm-hmm. He has a championship. So that's the only reason that this is a conversation right now. But I'm leaning towards Allen Iverson right now at this moment.
So let me pose this question to you guys. It sounds like, Jamar, Tramel, you say that Kyrie Irving has a discussion to have the better skill set, but everybody agrees that Allen Iverson is the better player. So I must ask this. How much of this decision of putting AI over Kyrie has to do with the fact that AI was the alpha male, the big dog, and Kyrie, for the most part of his career, has played second fiddle when having success?
I think for me, when you look at the comparison, Kyrie Irving, and you could tell with the decision to leave Cleveland, everybody was surprised. But I think when we look at Kyrie Irving's career and what was going through his head was, how am I going to be remembered? And we look at this discussion, Kyrie Irving was like, shoot, I may have hit a big shot, but I'm number 2 to Bronny. You know what I'm saying? I got to go somewhere else to be the alpha male and win a championship. And I think Boston was that place where this conversation might be going differently. If Kyrie Irving went down there with Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown and came out of there with just going to the championship, bump winning the finals, whatever happens with the matchups. But if he goes down there and takes them to a championship without LeBron in the whatever the circumstances are, he goes to the championship. That shows something for Kyrie. And I know we can talk about skill set all the time, but I think 50% of the battle is intangibles. And we've learned that Kyrie Irving just doesn't have that intangible leadership trait. It just is what it is. And when he made that decision to go to Brooklyn not with Kyrie Irving, he is Kyrie Irving, with Kevin Durant, he's basically saying, look, I'm never going to be that guy. I'm never going to have that greatness about him. He made that decision. I'm just going to get some more rings. But Kyrie Irving will never be this guy that we're in, how do I say, greatness awe of. He has that one shot. He may win 4 championships when it's all said and done. And he's going to go to the Hall of Fame, but he's not going to be one of those guys we're really arguing in a greatness discussion, because he's not even close to being top 15 because of he was never that number 1. And that's just what it is.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. We hear what you're saying, and we know how high on this show that you hold leadership. We done talked about that time and time again. So, like I said earlier, emphasis on the answer. If you ask him what to say when posed with this question, I say like this: AI, he stepped over Ty Lue. Kyrie, he dropped one of the biggest shots in NBA Finals history. Not to mention, he had a movie where he dressed up as an old guy and went to a street tournament and won. They all have some great moments. So I want to know what you guys think. Is it AI? Is it Kyrie? Who you got? Put it down there in the comment section. And right after you do that, make sure you hit that like, make sure you hit that subscribe, and tell a friend to tell a friend. It's been SOS Discussions, where we're not just accurate, but spot on.